guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. My name is Hallie and I'm so happy that you're here. Welcome to my living room. I felt the need to record in front of my Christmas tree today because it's December, my favorite time of year, which is funny because every single year my kids get sick and then I get sick. So today we are battling off sickness. That's all I have to say. My brain is only half working because I am sick and tired of me not finishing these books. Just kidding. My head is all over the place. I don't know what I'm saying, so I'm just going to get right into it. I'm gonna start off by going over all the books that I read in November. It'll be short and sweet. I didn't really read a lot in November. It kind of caught me off guard, but I got a little bit emotional during the month of November, and then I just didn't end up reading a lot. So November, I had 7 books on my TBR. If you missed that video and you want to see that, you can go to my channel and watch that. Out of the 7 books that I had picked for November, I only read 3 of them, but they were really good reads. The first book that I read in the month of November is Twisted Love by Anna Hong. Honestly, I really liked this book. I think I rated it a 4.5. On my Goodreads, it says 4, and I should have written it down, but I'm pretty sure I rated it a 4.5 because I honestly loved everything about this book except I wanted more from the ending. Like, it was a good ending, I just wanted like more, I guess, which isn't a bad thing. That's why this is 4.5 stars. Really good book. If you want more details on my like reactions and all that, you can watch my, I think I did this in my reading romances for 24 hours, so if you want in depth, you can go watch that. But yeah, this was honestly a really good book. It's like enemies to lovers, not really a slow burn. It gets into the romance pretty quickly. It does have spice in it, so if you don't like spicy, you will not like this book because it's very spicy, but I love it, so this was great for me. I love this. I'm really excited to get into the rest of the Twisted series. I believe there's 3 other books. There's Twisted Games, Twisted Hate, and Twisted Lies. So very excited to get into the rest of those. Also, this book is available on Kindle Unlimited. I am going to try for the rest of these books, like if any of them are available on Kindle Unlimited, I'm going to try to mention that because I personally, when I have the option, love to switch between physical copy and Kindle Unlimited. I find that if I'm getting bored in the middle of a book, it helps to switch reading formats. And also, I love reading physical copies whenever I'm sitting upright, but if I'm reading in bed, like I always prefer to read on my Kindle. So there's that. This is available on Kindle Unlimited. I believe the whole Twisted series is available on Kindle Unlimited, but yeah. 4.5 stars for my first read of November. The second thing I read is also in that Reading Romance for 24 Hours video, and it is Flawless by Elsie Silver. This was the first book in the Chestnut Spring series. This one, I believe there's 5 books in that series. I might be completely incorrect on that, but I think there's 5 books. I honestly don't know, but this series is also completely available on Kindle Unlimited, like every single book. So I think that that is really cool. I rated this book 4 stars whenever I read it. Honestly, I liked this so much more than I thought I would. I have never read a cowboy romance before, so I think that that's why it took me a little bit longer to get into the book because I was just on the fence on like how I felt about it, especially towards like the last third of the book. I just really liked this. I really like Elsie Silver's writing. It's very like some authors, their writing style is very enchanting and like doesn't necessarily feel like real life. Like, it's a beautiful story, but it doesn't feel like you're just watching someone's real life. Whereas this book, I felt like I was watching the 2 main characters, Summer and Rhett. I was just watching their real life. It just felt very real. It was funny, which I was not expecting it to be funny. This was definitely a slow burn. You can see where I had to pause. I got this far, paused reading in my vlog, and then picked it back up on my Kindle a couple days later and like flew through the rest. But at the point that I stopped, there was like hardly any romance going on. I don't know, it was very slow burn, and because it was a cowboy romance and I'd never read an Elsie Silver book before, and it was like at the end of a 24-hour reading, I ended up slowing down towards the middle of this book, and I think that that's why I ended up rating it a 4 stars because I did have a slow moment in the middle. I feel like my 5-star reads, I don't ever really slow down. It's just like I eat it up and I can't stop eating until it's done. I think that's why this ended up being 4 stars for me, but honestly, it was a really good book, and I am excited to get into the rest of the Chestnut Spring series as well. So read that, and then the very last book that I read in the month the very last book that I read in the month of December was Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This so good. I rated this 5 stars. I don't even know where to begin with this book. It is just so good. Literally, I finished it and I got Mark to start reading it. So now he is in the middle of reading this as well. I'd made 2 videos reading this. I made a full spoiler version and then a non-spoiler version. So if you haven't watched either of those, go check those out. But I had such a great experience reading this. I'm counting this as my first book in the fantasy world. Even though I have read Harry Potter before this, someone in the comments had mentioned like this probably feels like my first experience with fantasy because it's high fantasy and Harry Potter is not, and I fully agree with that. So for me, I had such a good introduction into the world of fantasy, and I fully understand why people say like if you're just getting into fantasy and you want a good book to start with, Fourth Wing would be a great option because it is such an easy world to follow. And even though there's a lot of descriptions going on with things that happen in the plot, even if you don't remember the names of the places in the world or all of the names of the characters, like I'm terrible with names and places. I had a list in my notes of like all the character names and places because I just can't remember them. But even that didn't stop me from loving this book. Like I never really felt lost whenever I was reading the story. I was just so engaged. It felt so believable. I feel so emotionally connected to these characters. I don't know. I loved this. I loved this so much. This one is not available on Kindle Unlimited, unfortunately. However, I just love this. This is a romantasy, so it is a fantasy with romance. It was very slow burn. However, there is spice at the end of the book. So again, if you don't want spice, you might not love that, but it's only like, I think there's only 2 spice scenes in this, so it's not overwhelming amount of spice, but it is there. Just so you know. And also, I don't know if I mentioned it, but Flawless does have spice as well. Honestly, on my channel, probably all of the books will have spice because I just like reading that. So, but I will let you know because I know some people just don't want that in their stories. The last books from my November TBR that I didn't quite get to, just to mention them really quickly again, Magnolia Parks. I'm so sad that I didn't get to this in the month of November, but it's such a highly anticipated read for me that I just, none of the times felt right, and I didn't want to force myself to read it if the time didn't feel right and then ruin my experience with the book. So, didn't force myself. How does it feel? This is a fantasy that, again, is very highly anticipated for me. I just didn't get to it. Happy Place by Emily Henry. I also did not get to that in November. I'm really sad about this, but honestly, it just started to not feel like a fall book, if that makes sense. At the beginning of November, all I wanted to do was read romances, and then I read Twisted Love and Flawless, and it kind of filled my need for romance. And then I was like looking at Happy Place, and I was like, I don't know, like I just don't want to read it right now. It doesn't feel like the vibe while it's like rainy and cloudy outside. I know that this is like a highly emotional book, but like the pink cover and they're like on the lake, I don't know, it just like did not feel like it was the vibe. So I didn't get to that. And then the last book on my November TBR that I did not read is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. Also really sad that I didn't get to this one. But yeah, I feel like out of my entire November TBR, this is the one that I was like least excited to get to anyway. So it kind of got pushed to the back end of my TBR, and you know, I just didn't get to it. That's my complete November recap. Now to get into my December TBR, my end of year TBR, all the books that I want to get read by 2024, which is so crazy. I cannot believe that it's going to be 2024. That's weird. I have picked a very ambitious stack of books for December, especially coming out of a very slow reading month. But I figure it's better to stay ambitious and positive and, you know, whatever. I don't know. This is my excuse to, I don't know what I'm saying. Let me just show you the books that I picked. Okay, the first book that I picked for the month of December that I want to read is Addicted to You by Krista and Rebecca, no, not Rebecca, Krista and Becca Ritchie. This I actually have gotten like 3 chapters in and I'm really, really loving it. I just got this book on sale on Black Friday actually, and randomly one night I was just staring at it and I was like, oh, I'm just so interested to see what this is about because everyone talks about the Addicted series and the Calloway sisters and like how much they love them, and that turned into me reading 3 chapters because it's already so good. So I'm very excited to get farther into this. I might make a reading vlog about that if you guys want to see that. Let me know. This book is available on Kindle Unlimited, so that's very exciting. I can get cozy at night and read that as well if I ever want to switch it up. But yeah, that's the first book on my December TBR. The next book is 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. If any of these have the stickers on them also, ignore that. I don't feel like taking the time to peel them all off one at a time right now. But anyway, the next book that I have is is 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. I am very, very, very excited to get into this because the first book in the Good Girls Guide to Murder series was a 5-star read for me. It brought me out of a reading slump. I just loved it so much. So this is very highly anticipated for me. And that's all I have to say. I am so excited to read this one. Oh, I guess I didn't really say anything about these books. To give you a very quick synopsis, because again, I don't really know much about a lot of these books. You know, now that I think about it, I don't know anything about this book. Oh, this sounds so good. So this is basically about a group of 6 friends who are going on an 8-hour road trip. The RV breaks down and then they start dying one by one. That's all I'm gonna say about that. So excited to read this. The next book on my December TBR, which before I say this, I think the rest of the books in this stack are fantasies. I am in a big fantasy mood. I think it's just Fourth Wing was so good and I love watching fantasy movies and TV shows, and the rest of these are just such highly anticipated fantasies for me. So I don't know if I'll end up reading all of them because I'm not sure how my brain will do switching from fantasy world to world to world. If that will turn me off of fantasy or if it will just make me want more, I don't know. But I'm putting these in the TBR because I couldn't choose between them. I want to read them all equally right now, and so I just figured let's just add them all to my TBR and see where we go with it, okay? Okay, the first book, not the first book, but the first fantasy book is Divine Rivals. And how cute is this cover? The author is Rebecca Ross. I didn't mention that, but how pretty is this cover? I actually unboxed this in my Fourth Wing reading vlog, but this is the UK cover. One of you guys actually introduced me to the website Waterstones, which is a UK website for books. So you can get alternate covers, which I was going to just get the US version because I honestly like the UK and the US version equally for the covers of the first book. But then Waterstones announced the cover for the second book, the UK cover, and it's so pretty. And so then I was like, okay, if I want that, then I want this so that they match. So that's what I did. And I'm so excited to read this. This is a lot of people's either favorite book of the year or just a 5-star read for a lot of people. So definitely highly anticipating this one. This one is YA, so I don't think there's any spice in it, but it is romance, fantasy romance. So yeah, so excited to read that. The next one is Powerless by Lauren Roberts, I believe. Yes, Powerless by Lauren Roberts. And this is the Barnes & Noble special edition. I also unboxed this in my Fourth Wing reading vlog. I am so excited to read this. A lot of people say that this is, what is that movie? Why can I not remember what that's called? Katniss Everdeen. What is that called? Hunger Games. Thank you. A lot of people says that this is Hunger Games vibe, and Hunger Games is one of my favorite books and movies. That is one of the few books that I actually did read in high school, and I ate the entire series. Thank you. I read the entire series, I believe, in the course of 3 or 4 days in high school. Very, very, very excited to get into this and just see what the hype is all about. You guys are gonna be so excited when you see this. One of my goals going into the year of 2024 is going to be to read all of the books in the Sarah J Maas world, starting with Assassin's Blade. I am so excited to get into this. So if you don't know already, Sarah J Maas has written ACOTAR, which I believe is a 5-book series, the Throne of Glass series, which I believe has 8 books, and then she's also in the middle of writing Crescent City, but they all, I guess, interconnect in some way once you've read them all, so you can read them in individual series groups, but I'm going to try and start from Throne of Glass, then go into ACOTAR, and then Crescent City, so that they all, I don't know. I've been doing a lot of research on what order to read these in, and the order that I have decided on is Assassin's Blade, then go into Throne of Glass, read the whole Throne of Glass series, then into ACOTAR, and lastly Crescent City. So I'm giving myself all of 2024 to get through that series. I don't even know if I will end up doing that, but that is one of my goals for 2024. So I figured what better way to go into the new year than getting a head start on one of my goals. So I'm very excited to get into this. For some people, this is their favorite book in the entire series. So I don't know, I don't want to have my expectations too high because since it is such a long series, I feel like I might end up being more into it towards the end of the series. So I don't want to be too hard on the first few books because I want to make it farther into the series. And I have obviously never read a series this long either, so I really have no idea how that will be for me. But yeah, hopefully I like it. I'm so excited. I am a psycho and I already own all of the physical copies, so very excited for that. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this is not available on Kindle Unlimited. This is not either. However, Divine Rivals is available on Kindle Unlimited, so that is very exciting. If you have Kindle Unlimited, you can read Divine Rivals. And I don't know if I mentioned it, I think I did, but Addicted to You is available on Kindle Unlimited as well. And I think those are the only other 2 books that are available on Kindle Unlimited out of the rest of these. series. So, but yes, Assassin's Blade, so excited to get into the world of Sarah J Maas because so many people are just like ride or die for her. I'm very excited to get into it and see my own opinions on everything. Last but not least, Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I'm so excited to get into the world of Stephanie Garber as well. I already own Once Upon a Broken Heart, and when I very first started getting into reading, I heard about Once Upon a Broken Heart so much. I already own all 3 of those, and I was going to start with Once Upon a Broken Heart, but then I realized that she has this trilogy, Caraval, that takes place before Once Upon a Broken Heart, and you don't have to read it beforehand, but a lot of people recommend reading it because you get further insight into one of the main characters in Once Upon a Broken Heart, which I believe is Jax. I have no idea. This is a trilogy. It's Caraval, Legendary, and then Finale, I believe, and then you can get into Once Upon a Broken Heart. So I am very excited to get into this. I have been wanting to start Once Upon a Broken Heart for months, and I haven't because I didn't own Caraval, and I just like want to get the most out of the experience. So I was waiting until I could read this trilogy first. So yeah, very excited. I know I just said lastly, but I completely forgot that I was going to go ahead and add 2 of the books from my November TBR back into my December TBR, just in case I end up having extra time or like whatever. These are the 2 that I mainly wanted to get to in November and I just didn't find time to. How Does It Feel by Janine O'Reilly. I'm going to be putting this back just because I really want to read this. It looks so good. I still have no idea what this is about, but that single TikTok that I mentioned in my last TBR video has just, I can't stop thinking about what this could possibly be about. So I have to read it. This is available on Kindle Unlimited if you have Kindle Unlimited. So I'm gonna add this back onto my December TBR. And then lastly, Magnolia Parks. I just want to read this so bad. I read like the first page and it is already giving me such Gossip Girl vibes, like Chuck and Blair, the most iconic duo of all time. And this is like what that first page gave me. I can't take it off my TBR yet. I want this to be on my December TBR. So it is. We have a grand total of 8 books for my December TBR, which again, I know is very ambitious, especially coming out of a month where I literally read 3 out of the 7 books that I had picked. But you know, 'tis the season to be jolly. 'Tis the season to be optimistic. And that's exactly what I'm doing. If you are looking forward to seeing me read any of these books or further books, because I do want to try and read a few like Christmassy books this month, like that would be so fun and festive. Make sure to subscribe if you have not already so you don't miss further uploads of me reading these. I love making reading vlogs. It's just so fun. You can also follow me on Instagram and Goodreads if you want more real-time updates because I do only post typically once on YouTube. I try to post every Saturday, and then if I have an extra video, I'll throw it in on a random day, but typically I aim for every Saturday. But yeah, I'm so excited to have you guys here with me for this next month of reading, and especially starting out the new year as a reader. That'll be my first full year being a reader, so I'm very excited for 2024 and everything that this next year has to bring. But first, we have to finish out 2023, and this is how I will be ending my year, and I could not be happier about it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.